Founder Report, Season 1, Episode 9.
Fabulous. But pass me that. Good morning, everybody. You know, the last time, of course, you were tinkering with the microphone a little bit.
I can't help myself.
So I've made you a little sign today. I must not play with the microphone. You might want to prop it up over there so you are reminded of it. But
Can't put it on the table.
maybe not. Well, they won't stay on the table. It'll slip and there'll be an almighty noise halfway through the proceedings. You watch. Guarantee.
That works.
Wait for the... Anyway, so how have you been? It's been nearly a week since I saw you last. What have you been up to in the last week, of course? Eating all that pancake batter, no doubt.
That's all gone. That's all finished.
All finished. Yeah. Cooked them all.
Croissants are finished.
Ah, how did the croissant course go?
Really, really well.
Yeah?
I haven't actually practiced since.
Right.
But I'm going to next week, I think.
Right.
I'll make my first batch after the lesson and see how I go.
Oh,
but I think it went really well. Really happy with the course. Really happy with the teacher, Chef Manuel.
That's shades of Faulty Towers, isn't it?
French guy, super nice.
Really?
Really helpful.
Cool.
And yeah, so
and you enjoyed
maybe next week I can bring some croissant over.
Yeah.
Handmade ones, and
fantastic.
then you can let me know.
So when are you going on MasterChef?
Never. Okay.
You're going to tell me.
I'm already uncomfortable enough doing this. I don't think I could do TV.
Really?
No.
Oh no, well, I've done it, as you know. I once did some dubious property program, or an episode of.
Yeah, I think you can say the name.
Can I say the name?
Yeah, you can say the name.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't really want to say the name because it's shit.
No.
And now we can't say the name.
It's proper. A well-known daytime.
It's a well-known daytime property program.
How many episodes did you do?
One of which there are many daytime property programs. So many.
Homes Under the Hammer.
Well, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yes.
How many episodes did you do?
Oh, only just the one.
But Simon didn't get a call back.
Well, no, because obviously I was there in the professional capacity. You know, they give you
the valuation bit.
Exactly.
Right.
And for all those who think it isn't scripted, rubbish. It's completely scripted. In fact, when I got there,
you can't ruin people's impression of this show.
Well,
it's like wrestling.
Sorry.
People don't think wrestling. People think wrestling is real.
Well, really?
Yeah.
They really think wrestling is real. Well, that's a subject for another day, isn't it?
I had a cousin-in-law. His fate was.
Is there such a thing as a cousin-in-law?
Well, what's it? Well, someone who marries your cousin is what?
I don't know.
Well, I called him a cousin-in-law.
Yeah, you could say somebody that marries your cousin is
incest.
It's another cousin, yeah.
But his favourite thing to do,
was
to have a cigar,
and
watch WWF or E. I can't remember which one.
WWF.
And he loved it, and he'd make me sit down and watch it for hours.
Right.
And I hated it.
No. I've always thought that Turkish oil wrestling might be more interesting because their hands go into some interesting places. I noticed. Yeah, but I never found watching because back in
that must be the special TV channel that you subscribe to.
It's quite. I'm sure.
I don't think you get it on Freeview.
No, you wouldn't. Probably not. Certainly not here. Anyway. After last episode, the last episode, we were talking about obviously the monarchy.
Yeah, it did really well, by the way.
It did really well.
At least on YouTube, it did.
Oh right, okay.
It got a decent amount of views
compared
to everything else that we've done.
Slowly catchy monkey. It's and every day. In fact, I was we'll get there, I'm sure. But you mentioned we had a little thing last time, didn't we, about the kings and queens and what have you. You wanted to know. You were saying about who could possibly have been the first king, and you sent me a little snippet.
First recorded king, yeah, exactly.
The first recorded king, and I thought that was Elvis Presley, but not recorded in that sense.
He's a true king.
Right. Okay.
He's number one, isn't he?
I've got a story about that's kind of about Elvis later, but as part of the topic today. But yes, you mentioned the world's first, and you sent a thing over to me. And the world's first king or empire was around 4,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, which is very difficult to say, especially if you've got false teeth.
King Sargon of Akkad.
Yes, yes.
But they would have almost certainly have been kings and queens before then. But the first recognised, written down somewhere is King Sargon of Akkad.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't really explain how the entire structure was created. But
Exactly. But there we go. Yes, little pointless bit of historical knowledge. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about all things relating to sort of cosmetic surgery and people's need to somehow look different to what they what they would have done otherwise. So once the preserve, of course, of fading Hollywood stars and retirees to Miami, it now seems that going under the knife, of course, is and injecting paralysis, inducing toxins into one's forehead and lip fillers.
Bit of botulinum toxin.
Because I know, blimey. All in the pursuit of vanity is nearly as common as brushing your teeth, and although I'm not averse to a few enhancements like tattoos and piercings, of which I have a number, but I think that's kind of an expression of oneself rather than trying to look entirely different. And I'm not really talking about those pop stars either that from the 70s and 80s, they sort that try desperately to cling on to the youthful look they once had.
Madonna.
Well,
I think Madonna has to be a really good case in point.
Yes. She's
just trying to sort of...
It's a scraggy old thing, isn't
trying
she?
to sort of hold on to the last scraps of fame.
Let it go, love.
Yeah, just let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
Is she a grandma yet? No, she's not. I don't think so. Maybe not yet.
I don't know. I mean, I remember when she married to Guy Ritchie. Who said after the divorce, he said the whole time he was married, he couldn't have a grilled sausage in the house.
What's that?
Obviously, she didn't approve of him eating grilled sausages. She might have been. Is she vegan or
that
vegetarian? That
doesn't make any sense.
I think it's because she's either a vegan or a vegetarian or something.
If you're going to make a comment like that, you have to at least qualify it. You can't just say he wasn't allowed to eat grilled sausages.
Well,
I'm
only quoting what Guy Ritchie once said in an interview. But yeah, I'm not talking about those pop stars either. That obviously are stuck in a time warp of their former best selves from 40 years before. Sort of still dying what was left of the ponytail and the beard, and desperately trying to maintain the relevance in a world that most people don't even remember who they were. So it's my main concern, of course, today is about the propensity for youngsters and so forth to have lip fillers and cheek implants and the like. I mean, I can't quite understand why somebody would have so much stuff put into their lips they could pick up a penny piece off a laminate floor. do you find it a bit odd that youngsters can't quite, I mean, I expect it from older people, although I'm not going to go down that that road myself. But it does disturb me that it seems to me that in this age of social media, that youngsters are not happy with their look, that they have to resort to all sorts of, horrible and dangerous, let's say,
Can be very
dangerous procedures, because
a lot of people have been to Brazil to do these butt lifts, and
butt lifts.
And some of them have sort of passed away because of complications. It happens all the time.
I mean, why on earth does somebody want to walk around with an arse like a well-stuffed sofa?
My real problem with all of it isn't necessarily what these people are asking to get done. Is that you have all of these consultants and doctors that are actually allowing it to happen.
Well, yes.
At what point,
I think it needs
legislation. At what point does it? But I think there is legislation. Well, at what point do the doctors say, "I really don't think you should go ahead with this, and I'm not willing to sort of do the surgery"? Or is money king, and sort of, as long as you're willing to pay for it, I'll do it for you?
Well, it does seem...
Because people go to Turkey, they'll go to Bulgaria.
Yeah. Thailand, of course, is for some...
Korea is an incredibly popular place to get cosmetic surgery done.
Yeah.
Because a huge amount of Korean women, do a number of procedures to maintain a very particular look, which is sort of very much in demand in Asia. But it's verging on a mental health issue, which I know we'll be talking about next time.
I think so. I just, would you ever? Well, I mean, how would you feel if your other half came home and said,
I've had plastic surgery.
You have? You have?
Can you not tell it?
Well,
so I'll explain.
Perhaps it didn't go so well. Sorry, mate.
Do you want to take that back?
No, of course I don't. Don't make me up. Well, no, I'm only joking. No, you've had plastic surgery.
When I did martial arts, and I stopped obviously because of injury. Because obviously I stopped during COVID. In 2000 and when was it? 2016.
Yes.
I think it was. I was in my class. We were doing a set of kicks, and we had to tie me on the floor.
Yes.
Those mats.
Yes. And
as I went to do a kick, the mat split.
Yes.
And I lost balance on the foot, on my standing foot. Yes. And as I went to turn, I landed with my fingers pointing towards me on the floor.
Ooh.
And so I heard an almighty crack.
Yes.
And I knew it didn't sound good. And the teacher was like, "Okay,
yeah,
you go sit over there, and at the end of class, we'll figure it out." By the time I sat down, I lost consciousness. And by the time I woke up, someone was picking me up, and they actually drove me in my car to the hospital. Now, it turned out that I broke all the bones in my left hand.
Oh, okay.
Literally, I did 11.
I can see 11 scars there.
11 spiral fractures.
Right. So, what constitutes plastic surgery in terms of relation to your hand? What would you describe?
So I had to have a specialist plastic surgeon operate on my hand, not only to put the to fix the bones in place with pins and plates.
Yeah.
But then I also needed a microplastic surgeon to do all of the repairs to the hand.
Right.
To regraft, everything, and to make sure that the veins were not damaged.
So there's no plastic involved, is there really?
Plastic means manipulation of the skin.
Right, okay.
That's why it's called plastic surgery.
Right, okay.
But
it's not as in the recyclable sort then.
No.
You always think of plastic, so you think, well, plastic. Yeah.
There is no plastic involved.
There's no plastic
in plastic surgery, Simon.
Exactly. So the point being is, if it's for a medical procedure, you have people that suffer burns, Yes.
Acid attacks,
That.
things like that.
Yes.
You know,
I mean,
then absolutely,
yeah.
because it's an absolute necessity. I had to have it done. I had no choice.
Yes, because
because number one, I'm left-handed, so
yeah,
it was vital that I got my hand back in as best.
Of course you are. You're left-handed. Yeah. I'm just cack-handed.
Well, you all knew that. But yeah, so there are so many people that go through plastic surgery, but it's not for necessarily cosmetic enhancement. It's more for cosmetic
exactly.
realignment.
Yeah, I mean, you think of those people. I mean, I think it's started, but most notable.
And birth defects as well. Let's not forget.
Yeah, exactly.
A number of people have birth defects that can be relatively easily resolved.
I get all that, and that makes perfect sense to me because it is dealing with what otherwise would be a tremendous disfigurement,
and it improves your quality of life. More to the point.
Exactly, but how does it improve the quality of life for somebody who doesn't have any of these issues, and actually is probably by any measure nice looking, to then put injections of Botox in their forehead, fillers in their lips.
But that's
shouldn't we be addressing this as a mental health issue rather than pandering to it? Which obviously doesn't resolve the issues that they've got that made them less than satisfied with their look in the first place.
Well, I mean, look,
obviously they need to search from within.
I think it falls under a number of categories.
Yeah.
One is a simple exercise of vanity.
Yeah.
The other is body dysmorphia, which is sort of a lot of people talk about that now. You know, where when you look in the mirror, you don't see yourself in the way that you want, and it can. I'm sure everyone has it to a certain degree.
Have an element of it. I've never liked my nose. I mean, I've got a nose that could inhale Peru, and I've never really liked it. I've always been aware that it
I bet you've given it a good go.
No, it was never. Well. No, I haven't. I was never into that kind of, thankfully, road to ruin. But with this nose, it would have been very costly, of course.
Let's throw the co-host under the bus.
It would have been very costly because I could have, not only inhaled my own stash, but inhaled the neighbours as well.
Okay, look. So let's divide it between simple vanity projects, those that have body dysmorphia to whatever extent, where it affects their lives, it affects their ability to form relationships and potentially communicate with people on a general level. And then there's the sort of people that have real psychological issues for whatever reason, and they feel that they need to have certain surgeries done in order to, again, improve their mental health. And at some points, it can actually be useful. I get it. But I think what we're talking about is, why do people do it for vanity purpose only? To try and conform to a certain look. The Kardashian look, the Katie Price look, and all these sort of people that you see, on TV, models that are on Instagram, they all become somewhat sort of like homogeneous, they all sort of look more or less the same. Big ass, big tits, massive lips, caked on makeup.
But it looks dreadful.
To us,
they're probably very beautiful girls without, and
yeah, but beauty in whose eyes? You may look at it and say, I think you've gone too far. But you have to bear in mind that we're of a completely different generation as well.
But when people do this kind of stuff, and they start off with having a lip filler, and it's because they're not happy with the way they look, and then they have the lip filler. Are they going to then be happy with the way they look? Are they not looking, or are they looking in the wrong place for why they're not happy, rather than altering the thing. I mean, it's like, as I said, I never liked my nose, but you know, it's the one I've got, so get over it, and learn to be the best version of myself I can be.
What's the name of that? What's the name of that guy? Rodrigo. Do you remember there was a guy on TV? He also did Big Brother. He was one of the most.
Oh, he's the guy that died. He died, didn't he?
Did he? Oh, I don't know. But there was a guy who heavily modified himself.
Yes.
Heavily.
Yes.
Became very famous, you know, was on all these TV shows.
Yes, he died.
You know, and people would always ask him, you know, why are you doing this? And he kept on saying, you know, just because I want to, I think it will make me sort of a better person. You know, it's what I need to do to go forward for my career, whatever it is. He then decided that he wasn't happy in his body at all, and he wanted to become female.
That's right. Yes.
So he transitioned to female, and I think he had the full surgery. He had the whole transformation done. But I wasn't aware that he actually then passed away. I'm not sure.
Yes, I'm sure he's passed away.
Well, that's an incredibly sad story if that's the case. Yeah. Because clearly he was tormented for such a long time that he felt he had to constantly change his body. But
exactly, this is my point. Are they actually answering trying to answer the problem by in the wrong way?
But he might not have known what the problem was, which is why he kept on going. He took it a step further, thinking maybe this will make me happier. And then when he got there, he was like, not quite yet. So I want to do something else.
So maybe being able to have these procedures is a little too easy.
But this is my point. Why do doctors simply cash the check and do the operation without going deeper?
Exactly.
Surely, you know, clearly that poor guy had, you know, troubles, you know, psychological issues for him to take these extreme steps.
Dreadful.
At what point did someone say, look, maybe you should speak to someone, you know, have a course of therapy, you know, let's get to the root of things. And if you still want to do these procedures, then fine. But at least we've had a chance to, you know, address what's going on in your mind.
It seems as though it's become, as I said at the beginning, you know, it seems now that it's as commonplace, seems as commonplace as people brushing their teeth. And I just find it, you know, it was the preserve of your sort of fading Hollywood actress who wanted to preserve themselves to that moment in time when they were most famous and couldn't bear to sort of let that go. So I get that kind of age thing. Although God forbid, because I think.
But can we qualify this quickly? I'm not saying that you should do this, but if you got down to your underwear and people saw the tattoos that you've got, would they not potentially say maybe this guy has an issue because you're tattooed essentially from like head to toe?
Yeah, but I see tattoos, and I've also got a number of piercings.
But there are people,
and in some interesting places.
But there are people who would say that maybe you have a psychological issue, that you're prepared to put your body through a certain amount of distress in order to have.
No, because I'm not. I see that. I mean, if you look at the history of things like tattoos and so forth, I see the tattoos and piercings as an expression of who I am. I mean, most of my tattoos. I mean, I know they've become very fashionable in recent years, but a lot of my tattoos was 35, 40 years old. I had all the sort of big work done a long time ago, way before it became a fashionable
This is not my point. There are some people who, if they saw you,
they
with
might
everything
make another conclusion.
They may come to another conclusion. The same way that we are making. But
I don't.
But we're the same way. We're making conclusions about a younger generation that are altering their body form for whatever reason. We just don't get it.
I don't see putting Botox in your forehead or lip filler in your lips as a form of self-expression.
We'll have to bring someone in and ask.
I do see that yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, people have tattoos for a number of reasons, but it's like the bald head. It was just is me being me. I mean, in terms of myself, I'm somebody who's very comfortable in their own skin, and as I said, there are particular things that I would rather have had a Brad Pitt nose, for example. But I'm not going to go under the knife to have one.
But we're talking about permanent decisions.
Yes. Well, I know tattoos are permanent decisions, even if piercings are not. But it's here I am. I'm sort of in my 7th decade. But I'm not trying to sort of. I'm working with what I've got, and trying to be the best version of myself in natural ways, if that makes sense, rather than to go under the knife to have this pulled back, that pulled back, and starting to dye.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
my head, because I think that's where it starts to go wrong, and it never looks great.
Well, if you had like a tooth knocked out.
Well,
would you have it put back in? That's essentially a cosmetic procedure.
Well, to a degree, yes, I agree. But would I want a set of teeth that looks like a piano keyboard?
Yeah, no. that must admit that looks weird. What are they, veneers?
Yeah, where when
you kind of have to look away because it's so bright.
Yes, it's so bright. You need sunglasses on if they.
There's that really famous footballer from Liverpool.
Well,
what's his name?
There's an endless number. Their teeth are just too.
No, but his are like generally.
Yeah.
Like I can't even explain how white it is, but it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Because then, what must you do to maintain that? Because surely you can't eat anything that's not sort of.
Well, I don't know. Depends what they're made. I don't know. Depends what they're made from. They might have some kind of coating on them. I don't know.
Varnish. You can just wipe them down.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have got a number of teeth missing, which is.
Yeah, me too. But that's from martial arts. But the thing is, you can't really see it. If it was right in front of my face and both my front teeth were knocked out, I don't think I'd be happy to stay that way.
Your teeth. I mean, don't get me wrong. If any more teeth, I lost a bundle of teeth. I lost a few teeth when I had my jaw broken, and I fess up. I was far too fond of a bar of chocolate when I was a kid, and so that didn't actually help my dental situation. But I've said to myself, obviously, if I lose any more teeth, then it becomes a practical issue. Because obviously I don't want to spend my twilight years eating Farley's rusks, or
you want to chew on your chewing.
Having to pass by on all the things that I enjoy, because my teeth is.
There's a practical side to it.
And so there's a practical element to that, and but if I lost a front tooth, there'd be a practical element to it. Would I replace it with? Well, I might choose to replace it with a gold tooth and go, well, hello, let's go for a different look.
I was considering that,
but it's a tooth. I mean, there is a practical sense to it, and I'm not looking to have the tooth pulled out to replace it with something else.
Isn't there a practicality to having massive teeth?
Well, I don't know. I can't understand.
Makes you a lot of money. Whether it's on Instagram or OnlyFans, these people are making tens or even hundreds of thousands. Seriously, off their bodies. Yeah.
Really?
Unfortunately, there's
just maybe I should get a nice big pair of tits done.
Unfortunately, there's the sexualization of women recently over the past, let's say 5-6 years, in the advent of social media. And the advent of things like OnlyFans, porn sites and all the rest of it, social media sites where, it's hard, even if you go on Twitter sometimes, you'll see some stuff that really shouldn't be there that pops up in your feed, and you're spending enough time just sort of blocking people that you've never heard of.
Yeah, hello. You
know,
I noticed one busty individual popped up the other day.
But this is not my point.
And it's like, hang on a minute.
But have a look how many likes they have. It's not just like 5, 10, 15, 20. No, it's thousands.
Well, I've never.
So somewhere there are thousands of people that are liking these things, that are sending comments, often inappropriate.
Yeah.
You know, but there's definitely a market for it. And if you're that way inclined, there are some people that will take full advantage of that because there's you know, it's well compensated. I'm not saying it's right. On the other side, you have, you know, impressionable girls and boys that look at social media and they see these people and they try, you know, for whatever reason, they think they need to conform to that look. They might not have the self-confidence within themselves to be happy.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying before then, isn't
they are.
Not dealing with the issues of their self-confidence rather than changing it through surgery.
But people don't know who they are, you know, at that age. So they try to conform to, you know, people that they see either on TV or on social media, and they sort of use that as a template. I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah.
I think you and I have been quite lucky that we have our own mind about things.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't really want to do or be like anyone else.
No.
But that's me. But there are a lot of people who
I might have seen things differently if I'd had a small dick. But then that's always a matter of opinion anyway, isn't it? Yeah, no, I'll make you right.
Next question.
So, I mean, how would you? I'll go back to what I mentioned earlier. How would you feel if your partner came home and said, "Look, I'm going to have some Botox injections next week"? What would your reaction be?
It depends what the outcome is.
Or your 85-year-old mother. I mean, what?
Well, ultimately, sure, they can do whatever they like.
Well, of course.
But if I don't like the outcome, I'll be 100% sure to let them know.
I did, as an aside, I did have an...
I'm not going to lie. You know, if you then choose to do something and you look stupid afterwards, I'm not going to be like, "Oh, darling, you look beautiful." No, I'll be like, "What the fuck have you done to yourself?"
This is the thing.
But I'd expect the same from me.
Yeah.
You know, if I did something or dressed a certain way that wasn't appropriate or didn't look right, I'd rather have someone saying, "Melvin, you look like an idiot."
Yeah, but it's easy to change your shirt.
It's easy to change your shirt.
Exactly. Once you... I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been out and about in a bar on holiday, and suddenly there's been half a dozen people walk in the bar, all having, you know, and don't get me wrong, all sub 35, all having had Botox injections. It's actually quite scary. Yeah, because there's this sort of total expression. You feel like you've...
but the problem is it's so easily accessible.
Gone full on Madame Tussauds almost.
You can go to almost any, you know, beauty salon and they'll offer some kind of non-invasive cosmetic procedure. Botox, fillers, whatever it might be. I have a very good friend of mine in Italy.
Yeah.
You know, her bust was huge. Like ridiculously big.
Yeah.
You know, naturally.
Yes.
And she would get so much negative attention. She even had...
Well, because they were too big?
It got so bad that they even Playboy Italy contacted her to do a shoot. Yeah. And she was like, "Okay, this is now going too far." You know, so her mum organised for her to have a breast reduction. I mean, not only was it difficult to walk around because, you know, she was so top heavy that she ended up having a reduction.
Well, yes.
And it changed her life. Okay. She was so much happier, you know, so much more confident because she was trying to hide these things. And it was, you know, almost impossible.
Impossible to hide them.
So, again, plastic surgery can have a positive side to it.
Yeah.
But
probably would have been easy to hire them out.
Hire them out?
But, you know, to people who wanted the things. I mean, yes, there is this... And there's this thing, obviously, you've got those on one side who have got enormous breasts that find it, that from a practical point of view, are a pain in the neck and want them reduced. But then there's these other people...
And a pain in the back as well.
Yes, exactly. And then there's these other people that deliberately want to go down that road and have gargantuan...
Katie Price, only the other day...
I think she's reduced now.
No. She's gone bigger.
She's gone bigger again.
This is her 16th breast augmentation.
Crikey.
16.
16? Well, she's gone up. I thought she'd had them reduced.
She did, and then she went bigger.
She went bigger.
And she had a bunch of other stuff.
Like walking around with a couple of Zeppelins.
How old is she?
Oh, I don't know.
She's got to be in her 40s by now, sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She's in her, yeah. I mean, I've got to say, I just find it...
And she's another one that started on OnlyFans, because obviously she's got so many money problems.
And do you not think it's a bit irresponsible to you've got to be aware of the viewers that you might be sending out a signal that actually is,
Yeah, but it's a selfish act.
Yes,
so why would you care about what other
people think? Right. Yeah.
That's a good question as well. Even if you are a role model, at what point do you say, I still have my own life to live and I need to be somewhat selfish? If you're in the public eye that much, do you have to conform to a certain standard all the time? Or can you say, I don't care about...
But do you think
I don't care about my fans or the public. I'm just going to go do whatever I want my way. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but that's that.
I just think it's a terrible shame. I mean, I had a friend I once said, and it's a good few years ago, and we were sitting at the dinner table, and he said, right, I'm thinking of having my lips done. I think they put collagen or something. I don't know what they put, but to be honest, I don't know what goes in them. And I went, why? There's just, be happy with who you are. Try and make the best of
Bad situation.
Yeah, well, no, not at all. That was the odd thing. There was no reason for it. And I think he was about 35 at the time. And anyway, I didn't see him for about 12 months. And when we next caught up, he told me he'd come to London, and he decided he was going to get this thing done. And they'd done sort of one half of his lip, and suddenly he had this phone call, and he was called away on this emergency, and they didn't have time to do the rest. And he said he wandered around for 3 weeks like Elvis Presley, and I'm like,
why didn't he just wait the 5 minutes and get the other side done?
I just don't know.
What kind of an emergency was
I
it?
think he was making an excuse that after the first thing he chickened out.
It's probably so painful. He was like, yeah, no thanks.
Well, I just think it's a shame that people have gone down that road to doing so many different things to themselves. I mean, you get the standard sort of people that they get older, they dye their beards, they dye their hair, or if they're going thin on top, they start wearing a wig or a toupee
or hats.
But we're out fine. But shave your head. If you've got a big bald patch and you don't like it, what's better to sort of deal with it as it is and work around it, or to stick something like a dead cat on your head, like Michael Fabricant,
who?
The MP in Parliament. He's the one that the two MPs sat behind, and the camera panned on him, and you could see them sitting behind, going laughing and going, "Fuck." But it looks bloody hideous. Why do something that actually, where are their mates to say, look, fella, actually you'd be better off if you didn't, because it doesn't look great.
But that's not the point. Again, we go back to this whole body dysmorphia thing. It's what you think you look like in the mirror. Now, if you put a toupee on and you think you look 100 times better than you did without it, doesn't matter what anyone else says. In your mind, you look great, and that's all that matters. Even if to someone else it might look absolutely ridiculous. That's what I mean. Everybody sees themselves in a certain way. It might be ridiculous to you, but to them it might be, the best thing, the best decision they've ever made.
Well, I suppose. I mean, this is freedom of choice and so forth. But
and these things don't have to be. These things don't have to be logical. We're applying logic to a situation that is often
which is
emotional.
Yeah.
It's emotional and psychological. It's not
so,
logical.
In other words, back to where we were at the beginning, especially for the more extreme. I mean, obviously.
When we talk about body modification, you get the people that put the rings in their earlobes. You get those.
Well, again,
you get the subdermal beads. Have you seen that? And they put them like in the.
I've heard of anal beads.
No. Why do you have to go there?
You mentioned beads. You're talking about beads.
Apologise, Simon.
I'm apologising. Sorry, everybody.
There's something called subdermal beads, and they place them in the ridge of the skull. So they'll cause a small incision.
Yeah.
Just there, and then they'll actually pop a bead in.
Yes.
And it will seal, and then you can get like ridges along your skull. Or have you seen that they inject dye in your eye? You see people that do that, so you have like black eyes, which is incredibly dangerous, but they do that. All these sort of body modification things that you can do, you can go really supremely extreme.
Yeah.
But there are people that want to do, people who split their tongue.
Ooh.
You ever seen that?
No.
And they kind of look like lizards,
Oh.
There might not be any rhyme or reason to it, but there is someone out there.
Makes eating ice cream a bit tricky, doesn't it?
Well, maybe you'd eat it twice as fast.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
Might be a great thing if you're an ice cream lover.
Yeah.
To split your tongue in half, so you could lick it twice as fast.
No, I don't. Well, I get, as I said, I get the thing with piercings, which you can actually take out.
People do weird things ultimately.
Put in and take out on even a daily basis if you wanted to, and I get tattoos. I see those as, but I always think even when I had my first tattoo, I had to really think about it. It wasn't one of those sort of arrive at the tattooist having been out on the Raz. On a bender all night and being too pissed and then waking up the next day going, oh my God, what have I done? I really gave it some thought.
Can we ask what your first one was?
My first one.
Keep it clean.
Where it was.
Yeah, what it was and where is it?
Well, it was a dragon and it was in Leicester.
Okay, good. Thank
you. No, it was on my arm.
So the dragon's the first thing you did?
I had a small dragon on my arm. And I really gave that some thought, and I was about 18 at the time.
Did you draw it, or did you get the artist to do it?
I think the very first tattoo I had was I mean, I'm going back over 40 years. I'm going back to 1980.
And what was the tattoo scene even like? How many shots were there?
Well, obviously, I'm going back a long time. As I remember in Leicester, I don't remember there being more than one or two tattoo shops.
So you didn't really have a choice. It was either A or B.
Yeah, and there tended to be, but back then they stuck a transfer on you, and it was more limited. And then I, for some reason, I had propensity towards dragons. I've been out with a few. I had a propensity towards dragons because then I had a different type of, like a lizard, almost a dragony sort of lizard on the other arm, and I've got smudge now on my glasses. And then I had a large sort of dragon on my leg, and that was all in the space of about 18 months. So I liked the first time. It was like, But then I gave it the more thought, and when I think later in my 20s, I started to have some of the bigger work done, quite tribal, so big tattoos on my back and on my legs.
Did you enjoy the process?
Look,
because obviously it must be quite painful at times.
Yeah, I think enjoying the process is. I think it's important that you work with a tattoo artist. That when I had the first couple done, you don't really, as I said, I was only about 18. But when it came to the bigger work, and I was a bit more mature, I think I recognised you needed to have, especially because it wasn't, some transfer stuff, that you have to have a relationship in terms of the tattoo artist to understand that the work they're going to do, their art, because you work together, but that you have to, aside from anything else, have an explicit amount of trust in their ability. And also, if you feel comfortable around them, especially where big work's concerned, it's going to be easier to manage the actual process.
And you're spending a lot of time together.
Yeah, exactly. So I had a lot of the tattoos then done by the same person. But did I actually enjoy it? No, I mean, I don't particularly like needles. It was more of a case of not the actual process itself, but the end result. But working with somebody where I could trust what, work with the artist, etc., to create something interesting, So, yeah. Here I am. But I've never regretted having them. Well, I think that's an important thing, which is why you need to kind of check yourself beforehand. So, because it's kind of a bit, people have them removed, then you never really.
Regret's a big issue.
Yeah, there's no point in regretting it. It is what it is. So thankfully I didn't turn into one of those poor wrinkly old things where the tattoo starts to look a bit jumbled. You're now going to say, well, that's a matter of opinion. Oh dear. So, I find it a fascinating subject as to why, we've ended up in a society where people are so, particularly, as I said, I think it's the younger people, are so unhappy with themselves that they're trying to create something else, and it's perhaps saying something about the society we now find ourselves in.
That's what vanity rules, it seems.
Yes, which is a shame. So anyway, kind of brings me to, I did find a little bit of a quote for today. Let's have a look. Whether there was a quote. It's actually, I found a quote which I thought was quite appropriate from an Oscar Wilde, the picture of Dorian Gray. Okay. Every portrait that is painted without feeling is a portrait of the artist, not of the sitter. The sitter is merely the accident, the occasion. It is not he who is revealed by the painter. It is rather the painter who, on the coloured canvas, reveals himself. There you go.
And on that note,
thank you
for
Oscar
watching,
Wilde.
everybody.
Have a great day.